Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Jillian with Jilly Juice at jillyjuice.com. And I do have a current book out on the market that just gives you just enough information to do the Jilly Juice if you already resolved to doing Jilly Juice. But if you need somebody to convince you, the book out on the market right now is not going to be the book. It'll probably be my next book, but no matter what, no one should convince you to do Jilly Juice. You should already probably be leaning 90% there, and you just need a little extra. So anyways, there's two things I want to cover today. One is the breaking of the new ground, and the other one is human sacrifice. So breaking new ground, what is that? Breaking new ground is when you perceive something has not been done before. And so you're like, oh, wow, that's a new invention. That's breaking new ground. And it can be rather jolting to some people because it's something that they've never heard of before, and so they think it's pretty extraordinary, when actuality, it's been done before probably 1,000 times over, but you just happen to not know that information. And so the importance of breaking new ground is that you're opening up doors for people that didn't have those doors open up for them. And that's just like, opening up a new site, breaking new ground on a new site for construction, to introducing the thought of immortality, which has been done before because we have immortal gods on this earth and also in antiquity. But do we have the giants of this earth? Well, no, I haven't seen any giants lately. But then you can look at some of the basketball teams and maybe you might rethink that. We have a few giants in our society. But as far as immortality and the gods, yeah, that's been done before. And I'm just basically repeating the same thing that's been done a long time ago. I just happen to come upon it, and it's breaking new ground in this society because it hasn't been introduced. It's been introduced in ways that are still within a lifespan, but it's not been introduced in a way of like an indefinite life. Okay, as far as immortality. And so anyways, and so this whole thing with breaking new ground with the whole thing with human sacrifice. So we hear about Satanism, and let me tell you, when I was belonging to so many different groups. A lot of them were very Christian, right-wing, born-again Christian groups, and the way that some people want to characterize what they perceive as evil. Because remember, good and evil are all perception. They will characterize it as satanic, Satan, something satanic related. And I'm going to say Satanism is really, I think it's a redirection. I think it's a way to distract from the actual root, because you can look at the Bible as like Jesus is good and devil is evil, but what is that? What is even Jesus and the devil? When you look back at ancient Greek mythology, which really is Greek reality, it's there is nothing good or evil. It's just what is. It's just the fact that humans were here before, but we were like cavemen. We didn't really have a good ounce of intelligence. And you can see some remnants of that in our society. Not that people aren't intelligent, but they're very uncivilized. They, are more into the pack hunting and gathering mentality. So you can see that in some of the indigenous populations out there that are far removed from civilization. I'm not saying they're not intelligent. They have their own intelligence, but they have a very different way of life that shouldn't be discounted, but it's not supremely organized. And yeah, it's a very Darwinian lifestyle. So we were given a lot of intelligence, and I'm even contemplating thinking that Earth was actually created by the gods as well as a place, or it was Earth just here and then the gods found a way to take advantage of the atmosphere. That I don't know. But I know that at some point, a cataclysmic force of asteroids that killed the dinosaurs gave rise to the mammalians, which gave rise to the humans, which then gave rise to civilization. And that's on my Facebook, where it shows there is in Europe a transitional civilization where it was the hunter-gatherers, and then they were instructed by someone or something, a group of people, entities, gods, so to speak. And I'm watching like Alexander, like on Netflix. I'm watching the Empire something, the Game of Empires on Netflix. I'm watching just all these different Roman, Greco, history because it's so, now I understand why the draw, but then I didn't understand from the point of immortality. This is where the perspective of Jilly Juice and Greek mythology, which is Greek history, and immortality, and then understanding our society and the whole thing of Satanism and human sacrifice, they did practice human sacrifice back in the Roman days. Where do you think the Sumerians got it from? Okay, Sumer was like the first culture, the first civilization, and they were practicing the Aztecs. They were practicing human sacrifice all over the place, and they were trying to give thanks to the gods. And so, yeah, back then in a relatively uncivilized society, right, they were doing sacrifices against people's will. They were taking virgins, taking people who, I don't know, they fit some kind of description to be a sacrifice to the gods. And yeah, they would throw people in the volcanoes, or they're doing crazy stuff on the altars. You can call it Satanism. I mean, maybe Satanism is a way to explain the human sacrifice, but I don't think all people that claim to be Satan are doing that, though yes, some will try to replicate that, which is uncivilized and it's against the law, so no one should ever be doing that. But yeah, they were doing human sacrifice. That's where humans figured it out. I mean, breaking new ground is when someone teaches you something that's been done before, but you just weren't aware of it. Okay, so the Sumerians, all the creators of civilization, they had their ground broken or their cherry popped by the gods, literally and figuratively. And so then human sacrifice was against the will, but now in a civilized society, human sacrifice, well, we still have undercurrents about, you hear stuff about the Illuminati and them doing sacrifices with people, and some of us have studied the conspiracy world and the Hollywood sacrifices, and this is the thing. Right now, in a civilized society, that's not like on the underbelly of society, because there is that, right? Human sacrifice is voluntary. Okay? Back in World War II, they were doing really horrible, horrific stuff that was against people's will, which we're never going to do again, though, yes, we see some of that stuff. We hear about that stuff in other countries, but that's in other countries. Let's talk about the West, America, the UK, Australia, all the, everyone that's in a first world nation. We do human sacrifice as long as, in the mainstream, and it's accepted when you are taking part in the antibiotics. But what is that? Because here's the thing, way back when, there was a mixture of the gods, the deities, and then there's the humans that are mortals. And the humans were always sacrificed. Right? The mortals were. And so whether they're sacrificed right off the bat, like in a volcano or on an altar through some kind of ritualistic type of thing, or whether it was like over time where you're being innovated with different chemistry, and then you're this godlike creature, like, let's say, Arnold Schwarzenegger and him and his Herculean type of body, to someone like Bill Gates, who is so smart, or Steve Jobs, so smart, or Albert Einstein, so smart. And then over time, the body starts cannibalizing itself, and then that's a type of human sacrifice. Okay? So death in our society, when it's from natural causes, because that's how they're going to, unless it's like a murder or an accident, homicide, infanticide, suicide, or an accident. If you die from natural causes because you're not aware of how to keep your body going, because the gods didn't tell you, or you would be doing it, you'd be living indefinitely, then the aging process is a type of human sacrifice. Why do you think medicine can be looked at as an occult? It's like magic. It's pharmakeia, pharmaceuticals. It's a type of, it's alchemy. Now, you could have it in a formal sense like the American Medical Association, or you can have it in an informal sense like being a witch, playing with your herbs in the garden and being the shaman that does all these rituals and tries to heal or whatever. Okay, but those two aren't very different. One just happens to be in a big, shiny building that is on the backs of so many people, and the other one is like, oh yeah, I'm an offshoot. And they wear their filmy garb, and they wear garlands in their hair, and they dance in the middle of the night. I mean, whatever you want to call it. But it's all it's all like antibiotic. It's all like contributing to the ritualistic human sacrifice. It's a matter of when you want to be sacrificed, and when you expect to be sacrificed is really the key. And so human sacrifice has been allowed through the Freedom of Information Act. If they tell you, okay, look, to read the back of the bottle, read the inserts, read all the things. If you're okay with that and you don't want to feel pain, because let me tell you, pain is the path to immortality if it's supported correctly, and you're like, yeah, that's fine. You know how many gods that are happy with how many people take part in the medical holistic system? Now, you could say the gods, like the demigods, could be the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Now, any immortal gods? Well, we could then look at, in the conspiracy world, some of the doppelgangers of photos that look like Keanu Reeves or Val Kilmer or other type of doppelgangers and say, oh God, maybe they were not reincarnated, but they were revived through biotech, or they just happened to play the game of aging in our society and then hide away when they're trying to revert back to what they were when they were younger. I don't know, but I'm looking at J Juice. See, here's the thing with the J Juice. I'm not that creative, just so you know. I mean, I'm creative. When I was going through my shit in my teen years, I was drawing stuff and doing just really detailed drawing, because that was the way it was an outlet. But that was the end of it. I wasn't writing. I wasn't thinking of ideas and going on some kind of, tour of just speaking about just things. I was really into myself. I was into just my hormones and trying to figure out how to fit in society. So I'm not very creative. So the fact that I'm able to talk about not only Jilly Juice, but about Greek mythology, about human sacrifice, about the conspiracy world, about politics, religion, and science, and having these conclusions speaks to the fact that somehow I'm experiencing this, which means that, there is some probably element of fact and truth as far as immortality. And then, those that are so creative and talented on TV and Netflix, where they have all these stories that are so out there, like, where do they come up with this? Oh, wait, maybe someone already experienced it, seen it, done it, and it just hasn't been rolled out to the masses yet. Okay? And so nothing is new under the sun. You have to know this. Every generation dies every 100 years or less, and then the freaking wheel gets reinvented. Then you have your kids, your offspring, who don't really know history, really, except for what they read on Facebook. They don't really know their bodies. They've been listening to the people who are putting so much crap in their ear because it's so biased information. And so it's easy to manipulate new populations. Oh yeah, we've reinvented the wheel. We have this, and this. So I could see when someone has been not even passing down information, but been around for a while, and they've watched the cycle of humanity. It's not difficult to see how predictable and how ignorant humans can be when they're not in touch with their own divinity. And so it's easy to appease the gods with 7 billion people who are on some level of decline. And so then everything breaks off into then religions and politics and different factions of science. Everyone wants to debate who is right and who's wrong, but there's still the black and white issue. Life or death. You know the laws of life. You know the laws of death. Everything else is just distraction. So if you have this perception of life, but it's not a law and it's not shared by everybody, then that's just a belief. Now, do my belief that people should live indefinitely? Yeah, that's my belief. But then I'm looking at the science behind life and understanding pain. Pain is life. If you want to characterize pain as death, then that's your belief and your perception. It's not a fact. That's your belief. And so when you're taking antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, that's sacrificing you're sacrificing your body at the microcosmic level. So we're practicing human sacrifice at the micro level every freaking day, and people are saying it's okay. So that's why the gods are like pretty appeased. And so down the road, when there's 500 million people, there's going to be human sacrifice against people's will. There's going to be, and you can't stop that. That's the thing you have to understand. Since we are coming from ancient roots of mythology, Greek mythology, that has also been shared by the Romans. And then, yeah, I mean, the Asians have their own mythology, immortal versus mortal. They have their own stories. China, Vietnam, Cambodian, even the Muslims. Every single culture on this earth has some kind of connection to antiquity and all the different gods that gave them the innovation. And so they're going to have their own sacrifice and their own rituals and their own things. And now that you're aware of it, now you can protect your kids and protect you so you don't become the sacrifice at the micro level or the macro level, immediate or over time. But at least, be thankful that there are some that are not as savvy as some of you, because that's who's going to be appeasing the gods. And I hate to say that. I'm trying to give everybody all the information so they don't have to be a freaking human sacrifice. But if they don't want to listen to my information, that's what they're going to be. And there's nothing I can do about it. And that is what relieves the gods and the Illuminati, right, from feeling guilty of doing something like that against somebody's will. Because that is horrific. Nobody should be led down a gangplank knowing that their death is imminent like that. Or walking to the edge of a volcano only to be shoved into the volcano. No one should ever face that. It's been done. Genocide's been done for centuries, and it's crimes against humanity. So how do you still appease the gods and give them the sacrifice, whether it's animals or humans? Well, you give people the opportunity of the information, and you give them so much pleasure and so much distraction that they're welcoming their own death. They're welcoming their own destruction. And a lot of men are going to be falling into that. You know how many men are on the Jilly Juice that I know of? Probably maybe 2 or 3 or 5. Not even that. You know how many women are doing the J Juice? So many women. I get more contacts from women than I do men. You know why? Because men have a hard time with adapting to new information. The evolution for men is so difficult. And I see it. And so, yeah, men are the ones going to be predominantly the ones being sacrificed. Because women are really, not to say that we're smarter, but we have more an ability to adapt and evolve. And that's why they're gearing everything towards women in our society. Because women are the backbone of the world. We are very, very strong. We can handle freaking having a baby. We can handle the PMS pains and the period pains that are so intense once a month, especially when the environment is so intense. We handle raising the children, maybe not always so well, but we do the best we can. Okay, women are so freaking strong. So who's going to be really sacrificed in our society and loving it? It'll be mostly the men. And so I'm just giving this to the men and the women. You don't have to be the voluntarily human sacrifice, though many of you are going to be. And you know what? Be okay with that. Because if we understand how the gods were appeased way back in the days of antiquity when they were doing against your will sacrifices, then the allowance of human sacrifice through voluntary means, when you're given the insert, when you're given the back of the bottle, when you're told that, okay, this is not 100%, this is not universal, this is not tested, you are risking not only cancer, disease, and chronic illness, which is life, it's evolution, but can you handle it? But you're also risking death. And when you say, okay, I'm still going to take that pill, I'm still going to get that whatever, then yeah, it's a type of voluntary human sacrifice. And that's why America is the greatest experiment, because now with the laws that we have in place, the gods and the demigods can feel okay with, and the humans can feel okay with having a certain amount of death in society. And it doesn't have to look like World War II or Cambodia. Okay. So you have a choice. Chocolate or vanilla. You choose. I'm not saying look, if I want to right now, I could go drink alcohol. I could have a whole bunch of fun. And I do the J juice. I recalibrate my body. And I can still enjoy society and what it has to offer. I don't have to be a freaking Puritan and be a Quaker and just live at home. Right now I'm living at home and just staying at home because there's a lot of craziness out there. So I do a lot of protecting of my own self, knowing how our society is. But down the road, when things have calmed down, you know, you can still enjoy life. You can still pursue all of your wants and needs and interests in on a very, you know, controlled level. Because too much is imbalance and not enough is imbalance. So you'll find the balance between. But I just want to say that human sacrifice is now voluntary in our society, though we have an underbelly that does sacrifice people, and you can't stop that. Human trafficking is also sacrifice. So watch your girls, watch your boys, watch yourself, okay? Women and men, and watch who you hang out with. Be very careful in what you do out there because so many people are using each other to get by, and some are very desperate because the world is kind of unraveling because of virus, the grid, and then the politics, religion, and science. Literally, all of that, all of the above. So, do the J juice, feel, heal, break new ground in you and break new ground in your society and in your community. If you don't want to break new ground, then fine. You can be the sacrificial lamb because we already were on that path until somehow J juice took off. And I saw I saw the benefits. That's why I take the freaking torture. That's why I take the pain of being ridiculed and being hated and being admonished for being weird. I don't really care. I had my whole life with that anyway, so it doesn't even make a difference to me. Not that I'm a glutton for punishment, but I know what I have. Believe me, I wouldn't have pursued J-Juice if I was like, oh, wait, hold on a second. But I saw the benefits for myself, and then I realized that you and I are not that different. You know, we're all aliens, but we're not that different. We're all able to adapt to this planet. We're hybrids, and we're able to adapt to this planet. So if you can adapt to this planet, then you can do the J-Juice. And if you can't do the J-Juice because you're not strong enough, because you can't deal with the pain because you're that far gone. Because pain is the path to immortality if you can support it correctly. So, drink the J juice, eat the food supply, do the waterfalls, drink water, deal with your shit, and back off of people. Because let me tell you, when we're trying to ram any thought process down someone's throat that doesn't believe what you believe, it's a waste of time. So mind your business, make sure your kids are okay, take care of you, deal with your symptoms, deal with your pain, deal with everything, face on, head on, and read. Rather read the Bible, read the Iliad and the Odyssey, which is a prose, a type of iambic pentameter, which is a type of poetic writing. Some of it can be very arduous to get through. Just listening to it is like, oh wow, you really have to get used to it. And you have to understand how to look up words and footnotes and all that stuff. But challenge your brain, because the more that your brain expands and is being used, the smarter you're going to be, the longer you're going to live. The more you clear your gut, the smarter you're going to be, the more clarity you will have to make the correct decisions for you. So, good luck with all that, guys. Bye.